Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another English lesson. This is going to be our third grammar video in this series. So, for now, I've just been focusing on your spoken English, and like I said in the previous video, you can watch class 11th videos as well because they are dealing with the same fundamentals that I'm teaching you right now. So just in case, like some of you might have missed out on that video, or some of you might not be able to attend my video lectures. So this video, I'm just going to recap just a little bit what I've been going through with class 11th for you guys as well, just so you guys get an idea and you don't feel like I'm teaching them something that I'm not teaching you. So I'll just go over like some of the things that I have covered with them up till now, and then you can use this video to get your references and everything. Now, for the exercises and the question and answers and everything else, I understand. And this week, I'll be giving you guys like a full-on PDF for everything else, like all the literature chapters that we've done till now. I'll make like a full PDF for all the questions and answers and all the extra stuff that I haven't given you, and I'll send them all to you. Hopefully by like Friday, maybe, depending on the time I have. So most probably Friday, I'll be sending them to you, and so you can study them and everything else. Do not copy like the PDFs in your fair notebook. Like I said, do not copy them in your fair notebook. Like the PDFs are meant for your study, unless and until I tell you explicitly that do this work in your fair notebook. Do not copy the entire PDFs in your fair notebook. That's just going to take too long. That's like not a good use of your time. You should be spending that time studying instead. Your exams might also be coming up, like your first quarter tests and everything else. So I'll be talking to your teachers and deciding what syllabus I'm going to give you guys. Grammar, I don't think I'll be giving you a test on grammar just now because there is literally like we've just started doing it. So literature will be my main focus. I'll be judging you on your language skills, how well you retain information, how well you retain knowledge, and all that jazz. So this video, I'll just be taking like you guys through what like the basics I've been doing with class 11th, like nouns, pronouns, and adjectives. And then like the next video for this week will be like a literature video, and from next week I'll just stick to literature and get like my course done till like a certain level, and then we can do grammar, because like doing comprehension and everything else, like trying to explain how to solve comprehension without like interacting with you, it's very difficult. So I'll try not to focus on that. I would just stick to like the technical stuff, like the verb tenses and all that stuff. So not this week. Next week I'll do grammar with you guys even more. This video is just like a recap. It's not going to be that long. At least I'll try not to make it that long. So this is just a recap, and whatever else like I've been going through with class 11, I'll just share with you guys as well. So I hope you guys have fun. And like I said, PDFs will be given to you by the end of this week, most probably. Definitely by the end of this week. So I hope you guys have fun with the video, and like I said, as always, any questions, any queries, bring it up on Discord. 7 to 2, I'm available on phone. Email is always open. Discord's always open. So let's begin with nouns. So there are two main types of nouns: common nouns and proper nouns. Just in case anybody was confused, nouns are naming words. They denote names of things, places, animals, etc. So common nouns, words for people, places, and things, are called common nouns. These common nouns are words for things. For example, the ruler, chair, hammer, and so on and so forth. These common nouns are words for animal. Notice the special names for young animals are included, which means that the youngs of animals, or children of animals, or kids of animals, whatever you might want to call them, have different names than the adults of the species. So for example, the name for a dog will be a dog, but its young will be called a puppy, right? So an elephant, full-grown elephant, will be called an elephant, but its cub will be called a calf. And the same goes for cows. So just go through these examples and notice where like it's been used, like the proper noun for the animal is used, or where the proper noun for its offspring is used. Now, common nouns for words, common nouns for places are bank, airport, school, post office, hotel, gas station, university, police station. All right. So the hint is in the name. Common nouns means these are common words, which means they're not specific depictions of anything, right? They're not specifying anything. They're not giving us any information rather than just the basics about what we're talking about. All right. Now, what's not given here in the screen or in this example that I'm sharing with you are proper nouns. So proper nouns are basically names that are given to something. For example, like my name is Dushyant, right? So that's a proper noun. Delhi as a place, that is a proper noun. If I say the Shatabdi is late today, that's the proper noun for that train. Now the train, if I say the train is late today, I'm using a common noun, because that could refer to any train. But if I say the Shatabdi was late today, that means I'm referring to a specific train by its proper name. So any proper name for anything will be called a proper noun. There are different rules for common nouns and proper nouns, which you can go through on your own. And if you want me to talk to you about them, let me know, make a note of it and bring it up in the Google Meet so I can ask you guys, or I can explain to you like what the rules for proper noun and common noun are. Like I said, if you don't feel like asking them in the Google Meet, just go watch the class 11th video. It's still there, like nouns. It's English grammar part 1, class 11th. It'll be on my YouTube channel, so you can just go and watch that. Now, another thing we'll be taking a look at is how to turn singular nouns into plural nouns. So, for example, many nouns that end in F are made plural by changing the F to V and adding ES. So, for example, half becomes halves, leaf becomes leaves, shelf becomes shelves, wolf becomes wolves, and thief becomes thieves. All right. Now pay attention to the way I've been pronouncing these words. All right. If I pronounce half as singular, then the plural I will be pronouncing halves. I will be making sure to emphasize the V sound in the word because that lets the listener know that I'm referring to the plural form of the word rather than the singular. So always make sure whenever you're changing a word that ends in F to a plural, whenever you're speaking, this is just for speaking, right? Whenever you're writing, it's clear. But when you're speaking and you're changing like a singular word like half or shelf into like its plural like halves or shelves, make sure to emphasize the V sound. That's very important because I feel like most people ignore it and they say halves and shelves. Now, if I'm referring to shelves as an apostrophe, like I'm showing possessiveness, that's it's fine, like because that's the way it's written. But if I'm saying it's plural, if I'm talking about multiple shelves, then I have to make sure that the listener hears the V sound because if they don't hear the V sound, it's very easy for them to get confused about what I'm talking about and think that I'm saying something wrong. Now, there are exceptions to this F to VE rules as well. For example, chief becomes chiefs, roof becomes roofs, handkerchief becomes handkerchiefs, cliff becomes cliffs, and puff becomes puffs. All right, like I said, the more you read and the more your knowledge of literature increases and the more you're exposed to the English language, all of these rules end up becoming internalized. And by internalized, I mean that grammar becomes a part of your thinking process, not something that you have to think about consciously. It becomes part of your unconscious decision making. So if you're reading a lot and then you stumble upon something that's not written well, you will automatically see or sense at least that something is wrong. You don't have to remember every rule. You don't have to remember every concept that I'm talking about because even I don't. I've been a professional writer for a decade and I can count the handful of times like when somebody has asked me, oh, what's this grammar rule about? Or what's the form of this verb? Or what is that in present continuous? Or if that's in present progressive? That doesn't really matter after a certain point because you study English to such an extent. Like, for example, I had to do a master's, right? So just to get to the level of doing a master's, I had to expose myself to so much of the English language. And I am an avid reader by myself. Like, I read a lot. So by now, like in my career, I don't have to think about my grammar. I don't have to worry that my grammar is going to be wrong because it's not going to be wrong. Because if I write something wrong and I read it back to me, it just sounds wrong to me. That's why I've been teaching you guys to read out loud in your head, read conversations out loud, and like, read words out loud because it helps you understand things much better. It helps you get an idea of what it is that you're supposed to be writing, what it is that you're supposed to be saying to the listener or the reader, whatever the case might be in that point in time. Ignore the buzzing sound that just happened. That I think I got a text from something. Just 1 second. Yep. So this is what I was saying to you guys. Now let's look at another example. Some nouns that end in F can be made plural in two ways. Scarf can be scarves or scarves. Hoof can be hoofs or hooves. Dwarf can be dwarfs or dwarves. Wharf can be wharfs or wharves. Now, the reason why I'm giving you these examples is because like this is really hard to pronounce. Like this is like a tongue twisting exercise. So it's very good. Whenever you have difficult words to pronounce, the more you pronounce them, the better your language gets, right? Your tongue is a muscle. The more you use it, so are your vocal cords. So the more you use them for unfamiliar words, unfamiliar language, the stronger they get. If you don't talk in English, if you don't speak in English, at least to yourself, it's going to be really hard for you to communicate when you have to talk to somebody else in the English language. So try having conversations with yourself in English, and then once you are out there in the world and trying to converse with somebody else in the English language, it's going to be much easier for you because you already know how to say things in your head. You just have to verbalize them. So if you're talking to yourself and if you're trying to pronounce these words, make sure to emphasize like the right parts of the sentences. Like it's been highlighted in this example for you, like VES. So make sure you're pronouncing it scarves, hooves, dwarves, and wolves, right? Make sure you're emphasizing the V sound instead of the F sound. So most nouns that end in FE are made plural by changing the F to V and adding S. So for example, knife becomes knives, wife become wives, life become lives, and midwife becomes midwives. All right, so if you have any question regarding this section, so now we'll be taking a look at possessive form of nouns. All right, possessive form of nouns means nouns that denote who owns something or who is the owner of something or that something belongs to somebody, right? To make the possessive form, put an apostrophe and add an S after a singular noun. This is my bed and that is Peter's bed. Now, most people get confused between apostrophe possession and apostrophe contraction. So what do I mean by that? So in this sentence, that is Peter's bed. All right. The apostrophe and the S is denoting that this bed belongs to Peter. That's it. That's all the information they're giving us. Now, in case we had a contraction on our hands, that sentence would be read as that is Peter is bed. Now that sounds wrong to you, right? That sounds really wrong because it is wrong. So you cannot use an apostrophe to show possession and contraction in the same sentence, right? You either have to show possession or you have to show contraction. So why do you, I hope everybody knows contractions by now. So for if you don't know, for example, if I have to say cannot, I'll say can't. If I have to say will not, I will say willn't. If I have to say would not, I would say wouldn't. If I have to say should not, I would say shouldn't. Or if I have to say Peter is, I would say Peters, right? So the example would be like Peter is sick. So I would say Peter is sick. Now there I'll be using an apostrophe when I'm writing, but that won't be an apostrophe that shows possession. That'll be an apostrophe that is a contraction of is. All right, now this is like one of the parts where grammar is confusing. Like I said, English is a very complicated language. It's not a simple language. Like, yeah, there are 26 letters, but like it's pronounced differently. All the letters have different conditions when you use them in different ways. So it's just one of those things. Like whenever you're using an apostrophe, make sure that like the entire sentence is in agreement with the apostrophe. What do I mean by that? It means that if the sentence is going to show us possession or somebody owning something, then the apostrophe used should show possession. And if the sentence needs contraction, then the apostrophe has to show us contraction in the sentence. So go through the examples like we all like dad's cooking. It is my job to collect everybody's plate after the meal. The flies are buzzing around the horse's tail. This is Susan and Jenny's room. This is Tom's hat, and that is Tom's father's hat. All right, now look at the last example. This is Tom's hat, and that is Tom's father's hat. Now, we've been showing an apostrophe all throughout this example, right? This is Tom's hat, and that is Tom's father's hat. Now you can be even more creative, and you can be like even more funny, and you can be like this is Tom's hat, and then you can and that is you can contract that is to that's Tom's father's hat. So now there'll be 3 apostrophes in a row, and all 3 of them have to be read differently. Like that's supposed to be read as that is Tom's father's hat is like proper. So basically, don't worry about it. Let's just move on to the notes. All right. Like I said, English is very complicated sometimes. Rest of the time it's pretty simple. Otherwise, sometimes it just mind boggles you. Like, what the hell? Who made all these rules? So, some notes. How do you make the possessive form when 2 names linked by and are the owners? All right. So, 2 names linked by and are the owners. So, basically, it means we're talking about 2 owners in a sentence. So, you have to put an apostrophe S after the second name only. For example, Katie and Mike's house is very big. So here we are referring to the house that belongs to both Katie and Mike. So we'll say Katie and Mike's house is very big. It does not mean the house doesn't belong to Katie. It means we are putting them together as a group, Katie and Mike, and saying this is their house. Sometimes two possessive forms with an apostrophe S appear together one after the other. This is John's brother's ball. The ball belongs to John's brothers. Paul's teacher's house has a swimming pool, the house that belongs to Paul's teachers, right? Like in the last sentence that I was just explaining to you. So if there are 2 apostrophe S's in a row, it just usually means like the first part of the sentence is telling you like who the sentence like whoever this thing belongs to, and the second part of the sentence specifies it even more, like what's the relation of that person to the first person. All right. So in this example, John's brother's ball It's telling us John's brothers owns this ball, right? John's brother owns this ball. So it becomes this is John's brother's ball, right? So you'll have to pronounce both apostrophes. You'll have to say this is John's brother's ball. You can't ignore an apostrophe. Just remember this rule. So two possessives, when they appear, when they are joined with an and, you have to put an apostrophe at the end of the second. When they're not joined with an and, you have to put an apostrophe in front of both of the things that you're talking about possession, all right? After plural nouns that don't end in s, use an apostrophe and an s to make the possessive form. For example, the children's room is always messy. Some people's houses are bigger than ours. Rats' tails are longer than mice's tails. Men's voices are deeper than women's voices. All right, now here we're using plural forms of all these words like children, people, mice, men's, and women's. But we are adding an apostrophe s to denote possession of a group, right? So we are referring to all of them as a group and we're showing possessiveness collectively as a group. Right? If this is confusing to you, just bring it up to me and Google Lectures, make a note of it, and I'll explain to you in much more detail than I can do right now. So now we'll be taking a look at pronouns. A pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun. There are different kinds of pronouns. So the first we'll be taking a look at is personal pronouns. Personal pronouns may be used as the subject of a verb or the object of a verb, right? So as everybody knows, or if you don't know, I'll just tell you, like every sentence has three basic parts. You can add or subtract as many parts as you like, but a sentence, to make sense, a sentence needs to have like three parts: a subject, an object, and a verb, right? The subject tells us what the sentence is about, the verb tells us what the subject is doing, and the object tells us what the subject's actions result in, right? So, for example, the subject of a verb does the action of the verb. The personal pronouns I, you, he, she, it, we, and they can all be used as the subject of a verb. For example, Lisa likes cats. She has 4 cats. In the first sentence, the proper noun Lisa is the subject of the verb likes. In the second sentence, the pronoun she is the subject of the verb has. All right. So we have 2 sentences. First one is Lisa likes cats. Full stop. So here the subject is Lisa, the verb is likes, and the object is cats. Second part of the sentence, she has 4 cats. Now here we are replacing the proper noun Lisa with a common noun, common subject pronoun she, right? We are replacing the proper noun with a subject pronoun she. The verb will be has, and the object will be 4 cats. All right. Here are some more pairs of sentences that show personal pronouns used as subjects of verbs. My name is Michael. I am 14. My father works hard. He works in a factory. My sister is older than me. She is 12. Our dog is very naughty. It likes to chase cats. Bob, you are a bad dog. David and I are playing football. We like sports. Jim and Jeff are my brothers. They are older than I am. All right, just go through these sentences, go through these examples, and try to recognize where the pronouns have been used, what common nouns or proper nouns have been replaced, and make a note of it mentally or make a note of it in your rough notebook. And if you're confused, just bring them up to me. All right. Now we'll be taking a look at the second form of pronouns, which is called interrogative pronouns. Interrogative pronouns, you can find the hint of the meaning in the name itself. So interrogation means asking questions to somebody. Hence, these are called interrogative pronouns. Interrogative pronouns are used to ask questions. The words who, whose, what, which, and whom are interrogative pronouns. So for example, who used all my paper? Who is mom talking to? Who are those people? Whose pen is this? Whose are these shoes? What is your brother's name? What does Tom want? What is the date today? What do you want to be when you grow up? Which of these desks is yours? Which do you prefer? Which of your sisters is the tallest? Whom did the president criticize? Now, in writing and formal speaking, you can also use whom as the object of verb and prepositions. So, for example, whom did the president criticize? Or whom is the principal talking to? Or to whom is the principal talking? But you cannot use whom as the subject of a verb. So you cannot say, whom came to the party last night? All right. So this is where like most people get confused, is where to use who and where to use whom. All right. So whom can be used as the object of a sentence. All right. So whenever you're using whom in a sentence, or whenever you're trying to use whom, make sure it is the object of a sentence, which means it is not the subject. Whom cannot be used to show what the verb is doing or what the verb is affecting. Whom can only be used to show like it is being affected by the verb. So for example, Whom did the president criticize? Now the president criticized somebody, and now we're asking who it was, so we'll use whom. All right, so here, even though whom is used in the first part of the sentence, whom did the president criticize, it is not the subject of the sentence. Whom is referring to the object of the sentence, which is unknown, but the subject of the sentence is known to us as the president. The verb is criticized, so that means the object will be whom. All right, but if we start using whom as a subject, it sounds completely wrong. Whom came to the party last night? Does it sound right to you? No, it doesn't, because we're using whom as a subject. We have to say who came to the party last night, because then it turns into a proper interrogative pronoun based questions. Who can be used as the subject or the object of a verb. For example, who broke the window as the subject. Who are you inviting to your party as the object. Now here you are inviting somebody to your party. Who are you inviting? Here it's used as the object. So like I said, read questions and try to pronounce them as they're written, because that a lot of times that will clear out most of your confusion. All right, whenever you're being confused by a question in your exams or something else, try to read it out in your head as you're supposed to understand it, right? So for example, this sentence, who are you inviting to your party? Now what's the important part of this sentence? You inviting to your party. All right, you are inviting somebody to your party. The person is asking you who. All right, so you are the subject. What is the verb that you're doing? You're inviting somebody to your party. So now who will be the object? That's what we want to know. So we'll ask who. All right, who can be used as the object of a preposition as well. For example, who is mom talking to? You can also use whom as the object of a preposition. For example, whom is mom talking to? All right, just as I said, whom cannot be the subject, but it can be the object. Whom is mom talking to? Who is mom talking to? Both are correct. If you put the preposition before the interrogative pronoun, you must use who. To whom is mom talking? To who is mom talking cannot be used here because we're using a preposition before our pronoun. So remember these rules, make a note of them in your notebook and wherever you're making your notes. And if you're having any confusions, anything that you want to talk to me about, bring it up in the Google Meet. So the last part is indefinite pronouns. An indefinite pronoun does not refer directly to any other word. Most indefinite pronouns express the idea of quantity. Now there's a misprinting here. It says he idea of quantity. No, it's the idea of quantity. Everybody is welcome at the meeting. Many prefer the coffee with sugar. Does anybody care for a cheese sandwich? Few choose to live in the arid desert. So it says indefinite because it's not referring to a specific quantity. All right? It's referring to an unknown quantity, which we're referring to as many, few, much, more, less, fewer. All right, all these are indefinite pronouns because they tell us something that is not definitively described by a proper number. Now let's move on to the next type of pronouns. Ignore the cursor on the screen. It was there when I took the screenshot and I forgot to remove it and I was too lazy to take another screenshot, so just please ignore it. So possessor pronouns are used to talk about things that belong to people. The words mine, yours, his, hers, ours, and theirs are possessor pronouns. So any pronoun that shows us what something belongs to or who something belongs to is called a possessive pronoun. So they'll be replacing common nouns in our sentences which would be otherwise used to denote possession. This book is mine. Have you lost yours, Tom? This pen is mine and that one is his. Sarah has lost a cat. Is this cat hers? I can see our car, but where is yours? We've had our lunch, but they haven't had theirs. Now here's a table to help you remember which possessive pronoun to use with which personal pronoun. So singular personal pronoun I and me is usually replaced by a possessive pronoun called mine. You would be replaced by yours, he and him is replaced with his, and she and her is replaced with hers. So when plural, we're talking about plural, we'll say we and us will be replaced by ours, you will be replaced by yours, they, them will be replaced by theirs. Now remember the spelling of this, theirs is the one which you will always use to denote possession. Whether it's a pronoun, whether you're using it as just like a demonstrative statement or an interrogative statement, whatever it is, whenever you're showing possession of anything towards anybody, you will have to use the theirs spelling. Do not use the there spelling because that denotes location, that does not denote possession. Next part will be demonstrative pronouns. Demonstrative pronouns are used for pointing out things. The words this, that, these, and those are demonstrative pronouns. This is my desk. These are my pets. This is the Ming's house. These are sheep, but those are goats. That is my friend's house. Those are horses. All right. So go through these examples. One just simple note, use this and these when you are talking about things that are near you. Use that and those when you're talking about things farther away. So now we'll be taking a look at adjectives. The definition is adjectives describe nouns and pronouns. They give you more information about people, places, and things. All right. So adjectives are additives basically. So you add them to your sentence to add more information to it without changing the structure or without messing with the grammar. Right? They can be added in front of nouns. They can be added in front of pronouns, and they just add information to the sentence. Now, if you don't know by now, you should be realizing it that the English language is designed to convey the maximum amount of information that we can in an efficient manner, right? That's basically every language, like not just the English language. You can look at any other language in this world, like the grammar rules are different for everybody, sure. Yes, but the main goal is to make sure like the reader or the listener gets our words and intentions as clearly as possible, which is where adjectives come in. If you use adjectives properly, your writing becomes much more descriptive, much more imagery based. It's much more, uh, what's the word I can use? Much more visualizable. I don't think that's an actual word. I'm just using it. That's not a real word. So it becomes much more visual, basically. All right. It becomes easier for the reader or the speaker to visualize whatever you're telling them when you use adjectives properly. So here are some examples. Some adjectives tell about the size of people or things: a big house, long bridge, shiny feet, large army. Some adjectives tell about the color of things: red carpet, gray suit, brown bear, white swan. Some adjectives tell what people or things are like by describing their quality: beautiful woman, a young soldier, a flat surface, a handsome boy, an old uncle, a hot drink. Some adjectives tell what things are made of. They refer to substances. So, for example, a plastic folder, a stone wall, a clay pot, a paper bag, a metal box, and a glass door. Some adjectives are made from proper nouns of place. These adjectives are called adjectives of origin. So, for example, a Mexican hat, a British police officer, the French flag, a Filipino dress, an American custom, Washington apples, Japanese lady, a Spanish dance, an Indian temple, an Italian car. Now, here comes the important part. The order of adjectives. Sometimes several adjectives are used to describe a single noun or pronoun. When you use two or more adjectives, the usual order is size, quality, color, origin, substance. So, for example, a small green plastic box. We talk about size first, then we talk about color first, and then we talk about substance, right? So, this note you should be like highlighting whenever you're making notes. Like this should be highlighted in block capital letters, like the order of adjectives. So, order of adjectives is size, quality, color, origin, and substance, right? These five things: size, quality, color, origin, substance. They have to be in this order. You can't switch the order around. What you can do is skip some things which you are not given. So for in this example, like look at the first example, a small green plastic box. Now the first thing we are talking about is size. Are we talking about the quality? No. We don't have the information about the quality. So let's move on to the next part. What's the next part? Color. We refer to the color as green. Now, do we know about the origin? No, we don't. So we skip that and we move on to substance. What's it made of? Plastic. So our sentence becomes a small green plastic box. Now look at the second part. A stylish red Italian car. Now look at the first part. Stylish means doesn't mean size. So size in there, we move on. Stylish means quality. So we'll put quality. Second is red. Red is a color which comes right after quality. So we put red there. Third part, origin is Italian. We put Italian. There is no substance, so we won't use a substance. So we'll say a stylish red Italian car. Okay, some more examples are a large Indian temple, a tall white stone building, a colorful cotton shirt, a long Chinese silk robe, etc. All right, adjectives of quality sometimes come before adjectives of size. For example, beautiful long hair, right? So here, quality comes before size. Elegant short hair, here also. But adjectives of size always come before adjectives of color. All right, beautiful long black hair, elegant short red hair. All right, so quality can come before size, but size will always come before color. Like I said, this is kind of like a mathematics theorem or mathematics rule or science rule or whatever it is, but this is a hard and fast rule of the English language. So please make sure you internalize it and absorb it and remember it for the rest of your life. Size, quality, color, origin, substance. Size can come after quality, quality can come before size, but size always comes before color. All right, just remember this. Quality can sometimes come before size, but size always comes before color. If you use any objective of substance, it comes after the color adjectives. For example, a beautiful long black silk dress. Right? Silk always comes after color because it's a substance. So substance always comes after the color. So these are the rules for your adjectives.